Hello, welcome to the final element of our Screwjack exercise. In this tutorial, we're going to be constructing our Screwjack assembly, which consists of the Screwjack body, the Screwjack spindle, the Screwjack washer. And how this is assembled together is the washer sits on the spindle, and the spindle sits within the body across this axis here in the front. So this tutorial, we're going to be using Fusion 360 as of January UI interface, but keep an eye out on any updates because I know there is one planned for the end of February. So the first thing we need to do is the assemble tools are in here. Now many people across videos and tutorials and other elements, they draw all of the parts within Fusion 360 space, and then you can hide them when you want to output different components. As I've learned from a different sort of background using SolidWorks, I'm actually going to do it a bit more of a traditional way where I've designed all my parts. They're now located in my data panel, all down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these parts in as separate entities and then fix them together. So first what I'm going to do is bring in my Screwjack tutorial, or my Screwjack body, and it's going to ask me to save the file because I need to basically create a path for it. So I'm going to call this Screwjack assembly. I'm going to have to call it version 2 because I already have one. I'm going to save that. Okay, now that I've saved that one, I'm then going to drag my first component in, which is the Screwjack body. And this is now going to create a path into my new drawing, like so. So what I do is then get a move copy tab, which essentially I can translate it or move it or set a pivot. And essentially I don't really want to touch anything apart from set a pivot. So this shouldn't, it can obviously move around, so I can move it up, down, left, right. It's not actually fixed in its position. So I can press revert and it will go back to its original zone. The next one, I'm going to load in my spindle. So I'm just going to place my spindle onto the page. This will now sit essentially directly in the right zone. And all I'm going to do is keep it nice and straightforward. Before I apply a joint, I'm just going to move it off of the axis and press OK. That's what I'm going to do is just bring in my washer. And it's also going to sit within the zone. I'm going to place that on there. So now when I go to the right hand view, I've got my Screwjack spindle, my washer and my body. Remembering that all three of these are knurled, I've just only modelled one physically, the other two on the drawings I've put as secondary features. So I'm just going to spin it back around to isometric view. I'm going to use the joint tab, which is in the assembly. And there's a couple of positions. There's joint, which positions components relative to one another. There's also as built joint, which basically positions components relative to one another and captures motion and maintains their current position. I'm not going to do any motion with this. I'm just going to want to capture joint so I can set my components. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to link my Screwjack washer cylinder, as you can see highlighted here. I'm going to take that cylinder and put it onto this cylinder here. So it's now going to slide onto that point. What I'm going to do is just sort of position this however I like, so I can come up or down the spindle. But I'm happy with the position it's set as 0, so I'm going to lock that now off. Now I can see the little 2 bricks or the 2 pieces of connection there, which has now been moved. So if I move the spindle, it now takes the Screwjack washer with it. So back to the isometric view, I'm going to apply the same joint again, and because I've moved the components, it wants to send the components back, so I'm just going to click continue. And once again, I'm going to select the internal feature first, and now I'm going to select the external feature to match. Now this time it's moved the body rather than moving the spindle, which is fine. I can just move the whole component piece back at a later date. Just going to switch around, and I'm actually going to apply the body up until a point where I'm happy with. Now, obviously, the idea here is that I would know where that spindle washer is, but I don't. So what I'm going to have to do is put in a interference at a later date, or I can actually press the side of the component to make it snap. So it's 17.5, which I'm now happy with. I'm just going to check the back. I should be able to see this feature poking through, which I can roughly, if I align a little bit, you can see it poking out through. So I'm happy with that. Okay, that one off. I've now got my washer and my spindle, and it moves all as one big component because it's jointed. The only way that's not jointed is none of this is jointed to the actual datum. So again, I can do that under remove. I can choose components, bodies, faces, or so I'm going to choose components. I'm just going to choose 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What I'm going to do is spin this around. I want to translate this to pick to X, Y, Z. So I'm going to place 0, 0, 0. So what I'm going to say it's going to be 0, 0, 0. Capture position. Obviously, if I do move it a bit further around, it will then ask the accept button, but it is on the 0, 0, 0 plane. So I have that now feature now installed. What I can do if I want to is go to the drawing, design, and what I can do is I could actually create a full assembly, visual side only, or I can select what ones I want to bring through. So I want a full assembly, create them from scratch. A3, which is fine, and this is going to now basically allow me to populate my assembly drawing, which will then coincide with my other drawings for my Screwjack. Okay, so the drawing element is now opened up, and what I can now do is bring my features in. So I'm going to change this to 1:1 scale because I don't want it very small. I just want visible edges only. I'm going to start off with my front, which is fine. So I'm going to place my front view and click the OK button. And now I'm going to project the rest of my view put over. Like so. And then obviously if I come up, I get the same view as my right hand view. So I'm not going to worry about the top view on this one. And lastly, what I can then start to look at doing is bringing in the table of material. I can look at then doing an assembly table and aligning up my balloon bubbles for features. So that's now loaded in. So I can come along now and bring in a table to do a parts list. So I'm just going to put parts list in the top corner up here. So now it's brought in my Screwjack. Basically copy what I called it, Screwjack tutorial, spindle tutorial, and jack and Screwjack washer. I can come in and put the part name if I wanted to, and a description. So I do want it down, first level, all level, close. I could actually, if I wanted to, but looks for actually include a part name, mass as well. So give me the densities, like so. And then I can obviously output a description if I needed to. So there we have it. There's a quick 10-minute tutorial on how to achieve a assembled part using the joint feature within Fusion. Also updating a parts list and an auto balloon bubble. My next stages will be now to finish off my title block and get this outputted to my client. Thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos as this series continues.